Knockout Legends in the building. Like, comment, and subscribe. So today I will talk about Zhilei Zhang, and he has an interview with Seconds Out, and he says some things about the current state of heavyweight boxing and Tyson Fury. So with no further ado, I'll play the clip.
Screen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by top Chinese heavyweight Zhilei Zhang. Zhilei Zhang, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Very, very well. And in exciting times in the heavyweight division, very much so for yourself. Are you back in training after the big victory over Joe Joyce?
Yeah, I started to get back to the gym, preparing for whatever's coming next.
You say whatever's next. There's plenty of offers on the table, and a name that has been mentioned a few times now is Anthony Joshua. Eddie Hearn has mentioned your name linked with his. Would that be a fight that excites you and a fight that you think is realistic that could happen?
Yeah, I think everything is still up in the air right now. But you heard what Eddie says. The ball is in their hands. He knows that I want to fight Joshua, and he knows that it's a big risk. Are they going to take the risk? I have no idea. But if they want to send over the contract, I'm ready to take a look, and I'm ready to go forward.
Where do you believe Anthony Joshua is in his career? Do you believe he's still got more to give right at the top?
Yeah, I think he's kind of going downhill in terms of his career, and I also heard that he spent some time in a little room for a few days, which cost a lot of money. I don't know what kind of therapy that is. Probably a mental therapy, but yeah, I think he's definitely not in the prime.
Do you believe that therapy you mentioned could help him at all with anything in his career?
I don't know, but I want to find out. Ask Joshua to see if that really works.
Another name that's been mentioned and linked with yourself is Derek Chisora, someone who I think many fans believe is coming towards the end of his career. Is that a fight that would excite you at all, or?
I'm not sure about that fight because right now, for me and my team, we're looking at top names. We're looking at tougher opponents. We're looking at bigger opportunities. So those top heavyweights are on my target. But if you say one day they want to run away from me, then I'm definitely looking to other names as well.
You mentioned those top names. Is there an element of risk with taking them? You're, of course, in a mandatory position for a world title. Is any fight you take now a risk of sort of letting that go?
It's not a risk. It's not a risk. To be honest with you, I have to wait until the unification is out of the way. Either way, there's a period of time that I have to wait around, and I don't want to sit there waiting for that fight to happen. God knows when. So in between, I have to get myself active, get some fights going on. So I don't look at it as a risk. I look at it as opportunity.
Let's talk about the weekend. Tyson Fury, Francis Ngannou. What were your initial reactions to the result and the scorecards?
Everyone was writing Ngannou off before the fight. He was coming from a different sport. He was making his debut, but when the final bell rang, I think Ngannou was not that bad, and Tyson Fury was not that good either. Especially with one knockdown, with a controversial scorecard, and I believe that Tyson Fury in the level was exposed.
Do you believe Francis Ngannou won that fight?
I feel like it's a close fight, given that knockdown is a 10-8 rounds. And if you really look at the scorecard, I feel like it could go either way. But you have to give Ngannou credit.
What is the overall effect on boxing having somebody making their professional debut, at least running close, and in some people's eyes beating the heavyweight champion of the world. What's the effect on boxing as a whole?
I think it's a shame that an athlete from a totally different sport making his professional debut, fighting against the current lineal WBC heavyweight champion of the world and almost beat him. I think it's a shame to the professional sport industry.
Do you believe Francis Ngannou could beat any top heavyweights? And what level do you believe he is?
Yeah, I can't answer that question because I believe that Ngannou still needs to be tested. He beat the worst version of Tyson Fury, and he still needs to be tested and checked one way or the other.
The fight we're all looking forward to, I think 23rd of December was the date that was mentioned for Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury. That seems to be in jeopardy now, may not happen. Do you believe that fight happens this year, or do you think we now have to wait for that?
I don't think it matters that much anymore. When or where or is it going to happen? They've been negotiating back and forth for almost 2 years between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk, and all of a sudden they signed a deal a week after I beat Joe Joyce and called Tyson Fury out. My understanding is he's trying to avoid me, but I don't care what anybody else thinks. That fight doesn't interest people and boxing fans anymore because the unification between those two guys, with that performance of Tyson Fury last night, I just don't think people are still that interested to see that fight happen.
So you believe the interest in unification between Alexander Usyk, undisputed between Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury, has gone down significantly after what we saw on Saturday?
At least for me, it is. If you want to do a money fight with Ngannou, I don't have a problem with that at all. But do it right, train right, prepare well, and go into the fight 100%. So I don't think Tyson Fury is taking the sport of boxing seriously enough.
Is the situation with the belts and the champions frustrating for yourself? Because the longer this goes on, the longer you may have to wait. Is that frustrating for you?
It's a little frustrating because when you're in that position and you're holding on to that world title belt by doing nothing. So I feel like it's a waste of time for the business people inside this industry, and it's a waste of time for the fans around the world. And if you keep that position, you have to be able to maintain it. And boxing has been inevitably losing a lot of fan base. A lot of people used to watch boxing, now they turn to MMA and UFC. So I think this is probably one of the reasons. And they look at money. The current champions, a lot of people look at money more than the love of the sport and a genuine emotion for the sport, and that's no good. And fighters like Mike Tyson or Lennox Lewis, they paved the road for boxing to be what it is today. But some champions right now, they just destroy the fundamental of boxing and the value that the fans want to follow and the reason the fans want to follow the sport.
Excellent words, Zhilei. Thank you very much for your time.
So from the clip there's a lot to unpack. Zhilei starts off basically throwing a lot of shade on other current heavyweights. He proceeds to throw shade on Anthony Joshua, throws sneak disses into his psyche, and basically I think based off the translation that the interpreter says, he's dumbed it down a bit, but it's like he said Joshua had like mental health issues, or maybe he's crazy in a sense because he's went in the dark room. But I have actually heard that that's like sensory deprivation. It's supposed to be good for stress relief and also to reset your mind, because the way the Western world is set today, when you do normal everyday activities, everything's attention based. So you don't focus on anything in one specific set for more than a few minutes. It's like goldfish syndrome. A lot of people have that because they've got phones, they've got stimulus, a lot of other different things. Your mind's going in 5 different directions instead of just sticking to one thing. That's why a lot of people don't actually stick to specific tasks or stick to specific pursuits or specific skill learning or skill set learning, in a sense, because there's too much going on. You know, people are focused on other people, Instagram, social media, Facebook, other people, gossip, all types of different things, food, addictions, women, men, whatever you're into. Your mind's going a million and one directions in everything. No one's actually focused on one specific thing. Like, most people have passions and goals and things like that, but it's hard to focus on just that specific thing and just filter everything out, because life always gets in and things eke into what's going on with you in yourself, in your sense, in yourself. So I'm not saying it's a valid thing to do, but obviously I understand the concept behind it. But anyway, whatever floats your boat in that sense. But he throws shade on Joshua with that. But anyway, he starts to proceed to throw shade on Tyson Fury because of what happened with the Ngannou fight on the weekend just gone. And obviously he's saying it was a close fight, and Fury's brought the sport into embarrassment, and basically what he's saying is not wrong, really. But pertaining to himself, he started saying something about Tyson Fury's ducking him, and I'm thinking, well, if you was going to get the contract, you would have got it, but you are actually, I think you were actually up for a mandatory rematch, so I don't know how that would actually work. So you had to fight Joyce anyway, so I don't know how Fury can be ducking you when he's doing undisputed and it was signed basically before the Ngannou fight. Maybe that was the plan all along with Bricktop and Fury, who knows. But I think he's a bit egotistical in that sense, saying that, because you beat Joyce, you beat him twice, but you know, you're claiming that you're up there in the top echelons. But I don't really see how the Joyce wins and obviously the close fight with Hrgovic puts you up in them brackets, because you've not actually fought anyone else like Ruiz or Wilder or even Joshua or even White even. I'm not saying White's high up there in the echelons, but he would have been higher than Zhang. But like, obviously Zhang in some senses probably overtook him in the sense because he's had the Hrgovic fight and he's had these 2 Joyce fights. But styles make fights, so it's redundant to say, or to blow your own blow your own whistle and ring your own bell and proclaim to be what you are, that they're the best, when there's other people there you've not fought. And with the state of heavyweight boxing being the way it is, I don't even see Zhang fighting anyone anytime soon out of any of them heavyweights, because 1, he's going to want a lot of money. 2, no one's going to really want to fight him because there's no, it's more risk than reward. And 3, he's probably going to outprice himself and just wait for his mandatory shot, because that was the logical choice, what probably would make sense. He doesn't want to fight Chisora, because even that there, I'm not saying that's an easy fight for him, but you don't know what's going to happen on the day. And Cesare's just out for another payday cash grab, but Cesare can turn up and spoil anyone's party on any day, so it would be interesting. But anyway, moving on to other things that he was saying. He was talking about legends in the sport, and that obviously Fury's brought the sport into disrepute with what he's doing. And to be fair, it's true, because, you know, he almost got his ass handed to him, and basically you're making a joke out of heavyweight boxing, but we know what it is. He's on the decline, Fury, and he's just doing a cash grab, and he's just trying to get as many easy fights as possible before he retires. He's not got that many fights left. I think if the undisputed fight takes place, if it takes place, because the date's been pushed back, I genuinely, honestly think he may have maybe one more fight in him, and I think then he may retire. He may have one or two more fights in him. I honestly believe that. Not even based on that performance. I just think psychologically and physically and mentally as well, I don't think he can actually get himself in shape mentally and physically and then go through 12 rounds with another decent top heavyweight and come through. It's too much. That beating off Ngannou, even though it wasn't a bad beating, but he did get a beating, I think it kind of like, it's made him look old overnight. And like, obviously I was listening to Hatman's video when he was talking about he thinks Fury might have been playing possum. Now, I was going to entertain that thought before, and I was going to make a video about that, but the only thing is I don't think he was playing possum. I think what's ended up happening is, with Fury, that always tends to happen, is that when he fights lesser opponents, he tries to fight at their level. And then when he fights at their level, it gives him basically a break from fighting at a higher level. So he doesn't need to get himself up as much for that. And you've seen that in other fights, and sometimes it backfires, because it did in the Wallin fight. He probably didn't take Wallin as serious, and then he realised the guy's a lot better than he is. And he had problem with Wallin. Remember, Wallin was southpaw. It's funny, everyone keeps saying he's a switch hitter and he's the best ever and he's this, that and the other, but switch hitting in what way? You know, Wallin was a southpaw and he gave you problems and he cut up your eye, and you had to like basically lean on him and bully him up to try and win the fight. Yeah, you won it, but it was a messy fight, and any other fighter probably would have got stopped in that fight, because the cut was really bad. They would have got stopped. They would have got stopped. I don't care what anyone says. Any other fighter on any other day got that cut, they're getting stopped. The fight's done, because that cut was atrocious. You can't even fight on with that. If that was Joshua, if that was Usyk, if that was White, if that was Wilder, if that was Ruiz, they're getting stopped. Because it was Fury, you got to bly. Don't ask me why or how. You got to bly, and I don't know how a doctor would say that you can carry on with that. It's a load of BS. But anyway, but like he probably thought he was in for an easy night's work, and then he realised quite quickly, once he got knocked down, the same way he got knocked down by Wilder, and the same way he knocked Wilder down, that look on his face, you could see the same look that Wilder had on his face. You know, he realised quite quickly, this isn't no joke, I thought this was an easy touch-up fight, warm-up fight, get me ready for Undisputed. Nah, man. Man's come to fight, bro. Man's come to fight. Man's come to tough you up and black up your eye, punch out your head. So anyway, a lot of what Zhang said is true, and it kind of serves him right. You know, when you got an ego as big as a house, that's what happens, man. What's the saying? People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Remember, you like to cuss people and talk about you're going to knock out this person and that person, but you get dropped easy. You get dropped like a bad habit every time you're in there with somebody that can actually punch, and you're talking about you'll knock out AJ and you'll knock out this person. Why? You didn't even engage Dillian White until you actually got the chance to throw the uppercut to knock him out. So you were afraid to even go anywhere near him. You know what I mean? And you've got the attribute and the size, and White had to take the fight to you, and he doesn't even fight like that. He fights on the back foot, which is ironic. How can White all of a sudden come forward and want to be a pressure fighter when that's not how he fights? Knowing he knew that White Fury would not engage him. He wouldn't have come anywhere near him. And even if he stayed away from Fury, he'd just be getting peppered from a distance and not being able to get anywhere in. So he had to do that. So, you know, that just goes to show maybe a lot of what people said, the lip service, it's not really true. You know, overhyped. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. The Wilder fights, 2 and 3, really good. 2, masterclass, brilliant. But you knew what you were dealing with then, and then you were with Sugar Hill. So the right trainer, the right tactics, the right mindset, you already know. Number 3, you probably thought you had his measure, but you didn't train as much and you had other things on your mind, and you still got dropped. You still got put on your ass, so you weren't as good as you were for number 2. But obviously, again, you probably thought it would be an easy touch like number 2, and it wasn't, because you're trying to fight at that level where you think it's easy, and then you got shocked because obviously Wilder trained and got a little bit better and was having success and did what he needed to do to actually be competitive in that fight. And again, you got dropped. So, you know. But anyway, what did you think about Zhang's comments? Do you think they're true? And do you think he's stirring the pot as much as he can so he can get a heavyweight fight? Leave your thoughts in the comment section. Like, comment, and subscribe. And that is another one from Knockout Legends. Peace.